Good afternoon everybody, welcome to Gradeup's MBA channel, and the wait is over now. All of you must have been waiting for the exam analysis of the first slot which was held today in the morning, and I myself appeared for the examination, and here I am to present you the analysis, and I'll discuss about the type of questions that were asked. We cannot disclose the questions exactly, but we will definitely discuss some of the answers for those who appeared in the first shift can match their answers with that. So before I begin, I just want you to comment the number of attempts. So the ones who appeared in the examination, please comment your number of attempts, the number of questions you attempted in the first slot. Okay, so please share your number of attempts, how many questions you attempted in the examination. So since I had not taken the examination last year, I've took this exam after 4 years. I can't compare it with the one of the previous year, but I would give my general perception since I've been taking different examinations this year. First we'll talk about section wise. Okay, so this was the pattern, no need to mention that. And now about logical reasoning, what I felt was it was moderate to tough. I would say moderate to tough because it had a good number of puzzles. There were 7 sets of puzzles and approximately 41 questions, and in each of the puzzle sets there were 2 possibilities. Not a single puzzle was directly doable. I mean it was doable, but it was lengthy. Okay, so the section was lengthy. Okay, and it took time, so one could have solved say 4 or 5 puzzles at max, because if one dedicated time solving all 7 sets, he could have wasted a lot of time. Okay, and apart from that, the remaining section was comparatively easy. There was one question on direction sense which was so there was a question on direction sense, the set question, which was a bit time consuming, and apart from that, the questions such as coding, decoding, there was no input output. Okay, so there was no input output. The coding decoding part was easy, and syllogisms were tricky, not directly easy ones. However, the inequalities were easy. Now if you talk about abstract reasoning, it was tough. So the ones who appeared in the examination, you must have attempted a lot of abstract reasoning. You must have taken mock tests. So I would like to ask you that whether it was tough. Do you agree with me that it was tough? Okay, and quantitative aptitude was easy to moderate. Okay, the only thing that I found was one DI set which was slightly tricky. Okay, one DI set was slightly tricky. I mean there was a caselet which was a tricky one, and apart from that there were straightforward questions. There were questions on number series which were easy, and then there were questions your quadratic equations that were again easy. So all in all, quant was easy to moderate. So as many of you mentioned that this abstract reasoning was tough, even I found the section to be tough. Okay, and talking about VARC section, so VARC section was moderate to difficult. Okay, again there were certain type of questions, the ones involving word exchange, they were easy, and some of the questions like RCs were one of the RCs I found it was to be a bit difficult to read, and the other one was easy. Okay, so this was the general perception. Some of you might not agree, but this was my perception, and the ones who appeared for the examination. So I collected feedback from the students who appeared in the examination. Okay, I collected feedback from students who were present in my center, and some of you might have met me in the center as well. Okay, So this was the general perception. Now let's talk about this section wise distribution. Okay, so so the ones who are yet to appear in the examination, please don't go by this mindset that this section was difficult and this was easy and so on. Okay, hi Nishant, yes, I remember you were sitting beside me and I asked you to join the session. Okay, so I remember. Okay, so the thing is, don't go by this perception. The ones who are going to attempt the paper in the coming slot, so those who have paper tomorrow, please don't go by this perception that your quant is going to be easy or LR is going to be time consuming and so on. Okay, so don't go by that perception at all. So please give your best. Okay. So now let's talk about logical reasoning section. So there were questions on circular arrangement. Okay, so there was a set on circular arrangement in which there was there were 9 people sitting in a circle, and they had you were given their ages, so one had to find their ages. Okay, so they had different age, and there were linear puzzles. So there were, I think, 3 sets in linear puzzles. Okay, so one involved uncertain number of people. Okay, so one was uncertain number of people. So 3 sets, one was uncertain, and the second one was with blood relations. Okay, so there were 8 people sitting and it involved blood relation. So the blood relation question were not asked directly. Okay, it was not given as a separate question. However, there was a puzzle seating arrangement, linear seating arrangement, in which there were questions on it was based on blood relation. And the third one was 2 rows. Okay, people sitting in 2 rows, and there were 12 people, 6 subjects. So 6 people like teach different subjects, one in each of the rows. So 2 rows. So 3 sets on linear arrangement. Then there was a box based puzzle. This was comparatively easy. Okay, and then there was a scheduling based puzzle. Okay, scheduling based, it was an easy one. So in which so there were basically one scheduling and another matrix based puzzle. And there was another matrix. So in scheduling, there were 2 months and 4 dates. 2 months and 4 dates. So there were 8 events in 8 different countries, and another was 8 people born in different years. Okay, and their ages were given, and they liked some fruits. Okay, so based on that, so there were all these puzzles. And apart from that, there was one question, some miscellaneous questions like odd one out, and the word was given, an alphabet based question. And there were 5 questions on coding decoding. Coding decoding was very easy. Okay, and the ones who are watching the session, please share this session with your friends. Okay, so that they also get to know how the examination was in the first slot. There were direct questions on inequality. So again, easy questions. Direction sense 5, it was time consuming, not difficult. Okay, so it had like 2 persons start from 2 different positions and then they meet at the same position. So it was of that type. So it was a bit time consuming because it had multiple instructions. Okay, and then syllogisms were mostly only a few types. Okay, no reverse syllogism. Okay, no reverse syllogisms, but there were only a few types and they were slightly tricky. For example, there were options that one would mark possibility as the answer, but the possibility case was wrong. Okay, so the ones who have attempted the paper would know that there were certain kind of questions. And then there were 3 questions on data sufficiency. Okay, and 11 questions on critical reasoning. So there was individual questions covering all topics of critical reasoning. Okay, so there were questions on inference, arguments and all those types. and then there were alphabet based questions and some number based questions, so miscellaneous questions. So all in all, the puzzles dominated this section, and some of the puzzles were time consuming. Okay, so one could have attempted 3 to 4 puzzles. 3 to 4 puzzles must have been a good attempt, and it was about choosing the right puzzle. For example, the scheduling puzzle was a bit easy one. Even this matrix puzzle, where there were 8 people, and it was their interviews were scheduled in 8 on 8 different slots in 4 months, so that was easy. Box based puzzle was also easy. Okay, so it was about picking the right puzzles and based on your comfort level. So for example, if you are not comfortable with circular arrangement, you should have skipped that puzzle, and so on. So that was like 7 puzzles. Okay, so around 41 questions in spanning in these 7 puzzles. So one could have wisely opted for 4 to 5 puzzles. Okay, and yes, based on this examination, I would say that, I mean, please don't go by this mindset. Again, I'm saying that please don't go by this mindset, because this was slot 1 of today. Maybe you might get an entirely different slot. Okay, so you might get an entirely different slot wherein you can have easy LR and difficult quant. Okay, so based on this, so ideal time should have been 60 minutes. So one should have spent at least 60 minutes to score good in this section. Now talking about the abstract reasoning questions, so there were 3 types of questions. First was obviously there were 11 questions on completing the series. Okay, the series completion questions were generally easy. I would say easy to moderate. Okay, analogies, some of them were difficult, so moderate, I would say moderate to difficult. And these type of questions, similar relation figures, okay, these were obviously difficult questions, because a pair was given and you had 5 options. So one, you had to see that which had the same relation. Okay, so you can call it a reverse analogy type. So you were given a pair and you were asked that which of the following 5 options exhibits the same relation. Okay, so I hope like the ones I saw comments that it was difficult. Yes, it was difficult. So it would have been advisable to solve the questions which would strike at the earliest, and then move ahead, or just use the remaining time to mark the flukes. Okay, so anywhere around 15 to 16 should have been a good attempt in this section. Okay, it was difficult. Now let's talk about the quant section. In the quant section also, most of the section I found to be easy. Okay, except a few things. First thing was there was a table DI, it was very easy. Okay, so it had certain this number of queries raised, some were resolved and some were so there were 3 columns. One was resolved, one was addressed and resolved, and third one had to find out that not even addressed. Okay, so 3 columns were given and you could find the 4th number, and if one could do that. Then there was a line graph which was based on cost and revenue. Again, that was very easy. Okay, again I would say very easy. The percentages were very easily calculatable. There was one DI caselet which was slightly tricky, and it appeared to be like a cat type DI. Okay, so it appeared to be a cat type DI because it had certain statements, no direct information was given. So it had like books, 3 publishers, ABC, books sold, and books were divided into 2 categories, fiction and non-fiction, and in that also sold and unsold. So it was tricky, I would say it was difficult. Okay, then there were questions on quantity comparison, which I would say were moderate. Number series was easy. Okay, so most of all the questions were easy doable, and even quadratic equation was easy, and approximation. So these questions were the easiest of the lot. So one would have ideally solved these questions say within within say 10 to 12 minutes. Okay, not more than that for solving these questions. So these were the easiest of the lot, and there were questions on arithmetic. Now one interesting thing was some questions were made just tricky for no reason. Okay, so for example, there was a question on compound interest. So the rate of interest was given as 10.05%. so it was like they were testing you on approximation. Okay, and similarly there was one question in which the number was given as 61%. I think it were marks or something like that, so 61%, and one had to multiply by 18. So it was like basically making it approximation based question. And another question, there was a profit loss question, which was made lengthy for no reason, because it said that the discount given by two persons was the same. It was not basically percentage based question, but a value based question, so you could have solved it. No, there was no question on geometry, there was no question on Venn diagram. Okay, so there were 3 DI sets. One was table, one was line graph, and the third was caselet. These two were easy, this was difficult. So all in all, the section was easy to moderate, not at all difficult. Now coming to the verbal ability section, so there were two RC sets, so 15 questions from RCs. One RC was a book on Apollo mission. Okay, so it was readable and I would say moderate, and the other was slightly difficult when compared to when we talk about the reading part. Okay, so comprehension wise. And then there were some questions on common themes, so it is like odd one out of cat. Okay, so 5 sentences were given, and it was asked that which of the following does not have the same theme. Okay, not odd one out, but yes, so they were pertaining to the same theme. One of the sentences was different. Okay, and then when we talk about word rearrangement, so there were 5 questions. These were easy questions, very easy questions. Anyone with moderate, I mean who is decent in grammar could answer these questions easily. Okay, it did not require very complex grammar or something. And error spotting, there were 8 questions. I would say moderate. Some were moderate, some were easy, so it was a mixed bag. Match the following. Although there were 3 columns, so one had to match 3 columns. Okay, but one could have solved by using options. Okay, so in case someone gets such kind of questions tomorrow in tomorrow's examination, please use options to solve the questions, because if you try eliminating the options, and that would be a better way to solve those questions. RCs were moderate, not lengthy. So this RC, the reinventing oneself, it was a philosophical RC. It was slightly shorter, not a very lengthy one. The book on Apollo mission was an easy one. Okay, and talking about RCs, there were questions, I don't know if they appeared last year, but they do appear in banking examinations. There were questions like there were 4 highlighted words, and it was asked that which of the following words is incorrectly used. And there were questions like fill in the blanks in RC, so which phrase would fill in that portion of the RC. Okay, so this match the following could have been done by looking at the options. Parajumbles, it had 7 sentences, but the questions were slightly different as well. So in the parajumbles, one fixed sentence was there. Okay, so the questions were of the type like which of the following, one was like which of the following was the last sentence, or some order was asked. One of the questions was it was asked that how many sentences remain at the same position. Okay, so another question, and then there were questions on phrase replacement. Okay, so they had combined multiple topics. So instead of asking phrase replacement questions explicitly, they asked in parajumble that which of the following phrases means the same, which as highlighted in the parajumble, in the that portion of parajumble, and a grammar based question as well. Okay, and then we had sentence filler, 6 questions, highlighted words. There was one question on highlighted words. I'm not getting which exactly one, and some word use, so some miscellaneous questions. So all in all, 50 questions. So it was moderate to difficult, because generally people are inclined towards those sections. So I would like to ask your opinion. How did you find the section? Because I'm inclined towards quant and reasoning, so I found it to be slightly difficult. What about the others who appeared for the examination? So odd sentence parajumble, no, there was no odd sentence parajumble. So parajumble had 7 sentences, so one sentence was fixed. Okay, the second the sentence B was fixed, and one had to use A, C, D, E and F and up to G, and they had to assemble the other ones. Okay, so Kingslayer says verbal was easy. Maybe verbal was easy for you. Okay, so like it's a everyone has a different opinion, but yes, I found that I mean, the ones who thought that they could easily score 40 plus, it was not that easy to score that high, and all in all it was, I would say, moderate, not exactly easy as well. Okay, for some it might be difficult, some it might be easy, not definitely easy, it would be moderate to difficult. Okay, some of the questions were easy, especially the word rearrangement ones and the common theme questions. Even the parajumble was easy. Okay, so that's about the 4 sections. Okay, so please don't go by this perception tomorrow, because it's not going to be the same examination tomorrow, or maybe in the second slot as well it might be different. Okay, and now talking about good attempts, so logical reasoning, I'd say anywhere above 50 would be good attempt. Okay, 50 plus would be considered as a good attempt, because not more than 4 puzzles, one could have solved more than 4 puzzles. Very few would have attempted 5 or 6. Okay, so so 50, I'd say 50 was a good attempt. Abstract reasoning, I'd say 15 to 18, not more than that, because the questions were time consuming. Had you attempted more than 20, you would have ended up wasting a lot of time. I mean, you would have spent a lot of time. In that case, you would not have been able to score very well in the sections. Okay. And then talking about quant and DI section, I would say 40 to 42 should be a good score, or I'd rather reduce it to say 38 to 42. So 35 was easily achievable. Okay, except the one DI set, most of the questions were doable. Even the arithmetic questions were not very difficult. Okay, VA and RC, I'd say again somewhere in the range of 32 to 35 would be considered as a decent score. Okay, so abstract reasoning was time consuming, because there were multiple elements in a single image, and one had to look at multiple parameters to solve those questions. Okay, so Harshada, in my opinion, quant was easy to moderate. Okay, so quant was definitely easy. Okay, so I'll write here, if it is not visible that side, so 50 plus, and I would say 15 to 18. I'd say 50, even 50, I'm saying it more, it should be 45 to 50, I'd say. If you are scoring this much, should be a good attempt. And 32 to 35. So anyone scoring above 140 plus should definitely get 99.99. Okay, so in my opinion, 140 plus should have been a very good attempt. 140 to 145. Okay, so it was difficult. I mean, certain questions were difficult, and the others were easy as well. So quant was definitely easy. Okay, critical reasoning was a slightly difficult questions. Okay, so quant took the least time for most of the aspirants, and I'm not giving the feedback only on my perception, but from the other, I asked from the other candidates as well how they found the paper, and most of them said that reasoning was time consuming. Okay, I wouldn't say it was difficult because it was complex, but it was difficult in the sense that puzzles were time consuming. Okay, and abstract reasoning was definitely difficult because it was abstract. Okay, and then quant and DI, obviously it was easy because the questions like number series and then approximation and quadratic equations, they were very easy. Okay, one could have solved them very quickly and done many of the questions. Even the 2 of the 3 DI sets were easy. Okay, so so see, time management I won't say because every slot is different. Okay, so this is the feedback from the first slot. So the ones who have appeared in the first slot, these are the number of attempts which are ideally very good. Okay, so many of you have been commenting that puzzles were time consuming and abstract reasoning was difficult. Okay, so we cannot predict the cutoff based on one slot because normalization will come into picture in case of all 4. So all 4 slots are of different difficulty level. So based on that, we'll have normalization that will come into place. Okay. So although we cannot disclose the questions, but for the ones who appeared in the examination, they can just match your answers. Okay, so I'll just write some of the answers and then you can match them. Okay, so then there were certain questions like there were question of some 61%, which I said the answer was 1800 in that case. And then there was there was profit loss question, 2 books sold. It was 320 and 250, so 28%. Okay, and then there was speed 3 hours 45 minutes, 3 hour 45 minutes, that upstream downstream boat. Okay, so yes, so what you guys can do is, since none of us is appearing for the examination, so I shared one WhatsApp number the other day. You can please share your feedback on that. We will definitely write a blog for that. Okay, so we'll write a blog for second slot, and if anyone of you wants to give the analysis for, if anyone wants to give the analysis for the second slot, they can give us. Okay. And then there was question, some salary question. The answer was 72,000. Okay, so please comment yes if you got the same answers. So the ones who appeared in the examination, please comment that you had the same answers. Yes, so our CR questions were lengthy to read. So if you are not comfortable with critical reasoning, please attempt those questions later. Okay, so all in all, what I want to say is that please attempt those questions which you are comfortable at, and there are some of the questions types that you must attempt. For example, inequalities, syllogisms, number series, okay, quadratic inequality. So those are the ones which are very easy, I mean which were easy in my slot, and I believe that they are generally easy questions. So please do attempt those questions and start your sections with those questions. Then there was some mixture question. Answer was 80 liters. Okay, and there was some 488, some average weight of boys and girls. The difference was 16. Okay, number series, there were I mean I'm just writing some random answers. Okay, some number series answer was 489, 61 into 8 plus 1. Okay, so it was half plus 1 into 1 plus 1 into 2 plus 1 and so on was the logic. And then there was one answer with plus 10 plus 12, so there was 153, one was 20, 559. Okay, there was some number series question, and there was one question on 10 into 10 into 10 by 2 into 10 by 3 and so on. So that answer was 1200. Okay, then there was one 278 also. So the ones who appeared in the examination could relate to these answers. Okay, so Shreya is also agreeing that she also got the same answer. Then there was one question, 6500 was invested in 2 parts. The answer was 4000. Okay, 12:5, something was given like that. And these are some of the answers. And then DI sets were easy, and it was 450. There were 2 booksellers, A, B and C. So A and B sold 450. A and B published 450 books each, and 98% were unsold. 98% were sold. For A, 98% were sold. And then we had certain question on so C had some, I'm not recalling that exact number, but one of the answers was 98%. Okay, so 98% of the books of A were sold, and they had 450. Okay, and there was no input output. There was no question on input output. And then there was one average question which was 1075. Okay, and then some okay, one that relates to the DI. So 11:12. So answers from one of the DI sets, 11:12, 25%, 150. I'm not recalling which answers these were exactly. And one was some difference in July, something 30. Okay, then there was one answer 780. So these were the answers from one of the DI sets. Okay, so Siddharth has got all these answers correct. Okay, so this is someone else's handwriting. I'm just so one ROI was 69%. There was one question on ROI, 69%. Then there was 120. So this was from another DI sets, 120, and then 4:25, 336, 210, and some ROIs again 60%. So these were answers. So it was like 2.56 lakhs and 1.6 lakhs. Okay. Varat, I could attempt only once, and I think for all the non-Maharashtrian, I mean not all the non-Maharashtrian, but all like Delhi-based center, it was only today. Okay, so these are some of the answers that I discussed. So you could match those answers, and the ones who got the same answers must be rejoicing. Okay, and these answers are by someone who scores 99.9 percentile in quant section of CAT. So I don't doubt his answers. All his answers must be correct. Okay, so he scored 99.8 plus in quant in CAT this year. So and even 99.6 plus in ZAT. So I'm not doubting any of his answers to be wrong. Even I got all these answers. Okay, so these were some of the answers, and I'll talk about those. You can match your puzzles answers as well. So the ones who appeared in the examination can match your answers for puzzles. Okay, so I'll draw the final answers, final table, so you can match, and then you will get that whether you got all the questions right. Okay. So strategy, talking about strategy, see, please go by just one strategy, that start with the easy questions. Don't go by any pre-decided number. Okay, so some of you might have gone with the strategy that I will do 150 questions. Okay, so please don't go by that strategy. Don't go by any such strategy that you will target so and so number. Please go ahead, I mean just be calm. Start with the easy questions first, the topics you are comfortable with. Okay, so for example, if you are good at solving reasoning puzzles, so start with reasoning puzzles. Okay, so that's the simple strategy. There is no such strategy that what you should do, what you should not. And if you encounter any new type of questions, please don't worry. Okay, so if the paper is difficult, it will be difficult for everyone, and if it is easy, it is easy for all. So the most important thing is picking the right questions and solving them first. For example, talking about DI, so there were two easy DI sets and one was difficult. So one would have solved the other two and left the third one. If you are not good in quantitative aptitude, you could have solved two DI sets and move ahead. Okay, so Varat, maybe he is good at abstract reasoning, but the general perception was that abstract reasoning was difficult. Okay, DI, yes, they were very easy. So yes, Pawan, two of the DI sets were very easy. So there was one question on 8 people, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. So there were 1955. So I'm writing their ages. So their ages had to be compared with respect to so their ages were 65, 56, 50, 41. Now one of our colleagues, he wrote and he completed the this reasoning section, and it was his feedback that it was a lengthy section. Okay, so his feedback was that it was a lengthy section. He solved all the it had some statements like the difference between the ages of A and peach is 9 years, strawberry, orange, grapes, watermelon, okay, so this was one of the sets. Okay, and then there were 8 people. So there were 8 boxes. There was one puzzle with 8 boxes. Okay, so the ones who attempted the paper can match their answers. So there was one with, and please comment if you also got the same sequence or was it right. Okay, please comment. So someone must have got it right. It was frames, mirror, cushion, lantern, duster, towels, so this was the answer. No, ages were not given directly. Okay, so ages were not given directly. It was mentioned that their years of birth was given. Okay, years of birth was given, and it was mentioned that their ages are compared with respect to 2020. So in the statements, some of the ages were given, and in some of the years were given. Okay, and then you had, this was one of the answers. Inequalities were straightforward, and we talk about the your 40 was one of the answers to those approximation question, and 9 was one of the answers. Okay, and there were 8 people. So Jan, April, September and December. You can tally your answers. Okay, and you can mention that whether it is correct or not. So 13 and 28, there were 2 dates given, and the answers were, so it was a scheduling based puzzle. Okay, and so there were 8 people and they belong to different countries. Finland, Canada, Germany, Australia, and then you had Spain, Brazil, Norway and Kenya. So this was one of the answers. Yes, so there were three variables. So some were with three variables. For example, this was age. So there were two variables in this, and this was single variable. So some of the questions was easy. This one was easy, and then we had one puzzle on a number of people who were sitting in a row. So there were 20. The answer for uncertain was 20. So there were 20 people. Okay, and then we had okay, so blood relation question. So blood relation question, the seating was like this. So this was the seating arrangement. Okay, so this had seating arrangement as linear seating arrangement plus blood relation. So the relation was something like this, that M and R were a couple. Okay, and then we had B, they had two children, B and Q. So Q was married to A, and they had two children, I think P and J were something like that, and C was B was married to someone, that person was not known, and C was his father-in-law, something like that, father-in-law or mother-in-law, so something like that. Okay, so Indian junkies, there were 41 questions on puzzles. Okay, so these are some of the puzzles that you can match, and one more so if you enjoyed the session, please like this session and share it with your friends who are going to appear for examination tomorrow. So this is going to help them to determine that what type of questions were asked. Okay, so there were 41 questions in all from 7 sets. So 6 of the sets had 6 questions each, and there was one set with 5 questions. Yes, so there were 20 and there was one with 2-row arrangement, PQRSTU. So the order was SRPTQ. Okay, so the person remaining is U and ACEFBD. So they were seating in 2 rows facing each other, and you were given 6 subjects and one person in each row like that subject. Yes, it was a difficult one. So it was math, bio, history, physics, geography, and the 6th one was English. So these were the subjects. And then there was English, history, maths, bio. So this was a time consuming puzzle. Okay, so this one was easy, the your stack one, the floor one, and this was a slightly tricky one, blood relation one, and this one was easy. This I would say easy to moderate. Even one more, the one with years, the age of persons, that was easy. So one thing about the puzzles was that the statements were connected. So one statement was continued by the second statement. So the trick was that one could get 2, or in most of the cases there were 2 cases. In most of the puzzles there were 2 cases, and one could eliminate one of the cases after proceeding with certain number of statements. Okay, so that was the case with reasoning puzzles. Okay, and there was one question with I'm not recalling that word. The answer was Z, because you could form two words, tier and rate. Okay, so lengthy puzzles, yes, I'm not saying that the section was difficult because it was tough, but it was lengthy. So reasoning section was lengthy. Okay, so it became difficult in that sense. So if you are allotting, if you spent a lot of time in reasoning, you would have ended up losing time in other sections. So this is all in all, I discussed some of the answers here. Okay, so you can match your answers, the ones who appeared for the examination in the first shift. Now, many of you have query that what should be the strategy for this coming sessions, and please don't worry whatever you have done. Okay, the ones who have attempted the paper, please don't worry. Whatever has been done has been done. I mean, now don't panic, or I mean, don't get frustrated how you did in the examination. So for the ones who are yet to appear for the examination, please don't go by any stiff mindset that tomorrow as well reasoning is going to be lengthy, or quant is going to be easy, and so on, or abstract reasoning is going to be difficult. So please have a look at your paper, because each slot may be different. Okay, so it is not necessary that your slot is going to be of the same difficulty level. It is possible that tomorrow's slot is easy as compared to today's, or maybe even difficult. Okay, so do your best according to your slot. And one important thing is that please start with the easy questions. So I hope if you are a serious aspirant, by now you know what type of questions are considered easy, which questions could be solved very quickly, and it's just about application of that. Okay, so for example, like if you looked at quant section, even in the quant section, one could see that those two DI sets were easily doable, because the values were round off numbers. Even in the line graph, the values were rounded numbers. One could easily calculate them. And the second DI, which was a table, it was simple addition. It was so Arindam says, yes, puzzles were lengthy, statements were connected. Okay, so once you started, yes, Arindam, you are right that puzzles were doable. I'm not saying that they were not doable. Okay, but if you dedicated all your time to doing only puzzles, you would have not fared well in other sections. Okay, so don't worry about the cutoff, because it will depend on all 4 slots. So all 4 slots may be different, and in that case normalization would be there, and that would give you the final result. So don't worry about anything. Just wait for the final results to come. So all in all, what I want to say is, the ones who attempted the paper, so that was the feedback for the first slot, and I discussed some of the answers, so you could tally them as well. That would give you some confidence in case you get you got most of them right. And for the ones who are yet to attempt the paper, please go by an open mindset. Don't follow this that tomorrow's paper is going to be the same. Okay, so all the best, the ones who are going to appear for the examination. I wish you all the best. Okay, so please do subscribe to our channel for updates on all MBA examinations. So thank you for attending the session, and all the best to the ones who are going to appear for the examination tomorrow.